Think Tank Coffee Break. Today, we're going to talk about how we can involve and positively impact the local communities when implementing hospitality projects. And I have like a great panel of participants today. My name is Céline Vadam. I never present myself actually. I guess I guess people know me, but I'm the founder of CEO of Fuithing. It's a consultancy company working on hospitality projects with wellness focus, wellness and sustainability. And I'm also the co-founder of the Hospitality Think Tank. And today I have with me Hilton, Brandy, and a newcomer, Charlene. So if you guys can introduce yourself.
Ladies first.
Oh. Hello, I'm Brandy. I've been part of the Hospitality of the Future think tank about since it started, and I've been very excited to be on board with this project, learning about sustainable and regenerative hospitality. My background is originally legal, and then also in real estate and hotel development, and I'm excited for the discussion today on communities.
I'm going to go next. I'm Charlene. I'm the founder of a small independent studio called Kut. We work at the intersection of design and social responsibility in the hospitality industry, mainly with small to medium-sized hotel, guest house, B&B owners, designing sort of impact-led hospitality concepts and narratives around hotels, looking sort of beyond the hotels onto the neighboring communities, what their needs are, and making sure that we all have kind of a positive impact on their well-being. I'm based in the beautiful south of Sri Lanka, and it's already nighttime here now, so it's a bit dark, but I hope it's going to be fine.
Thank you.
My turn.
And welcome. Your turn.
The male amongst the beautiful females. So my name is Hilton. I am, I think as Celine mentioned earlier, the general manager of 2 properties in the north of Vietnam, one of them behind me, which will soon open in 60 days' time. I work for the Banyan Group, formerly known as Banyan Tree Hotels and Resorts, now the Banyan Group. Our company is very dedicated to our topic today, so I hope I can share some insights in that. I've been involved in hospitality, wellness, and community services for many years now, and it's a passion of mine, and I love to share and speak to people and hear different ideas from people all around the world, the ways we can make the world a better way. And definitely hospitality is a platform where we get to connect with many people from around the world, not only us who have the experience within hospitality, but also our guests. And, it gives us the opportunity to showcase different things and let them go home and tell other people about that. So it's exciting times for us. Thank you, Celine.
Great. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today. And yeah, it's a great topic, and it's one that it's not always put at the front end during when we talk about sustainability. Like we always focus more on or talk more at least on the environmental side of the topic. And then comes the employee side when we talk about people, well, guest side first, employee side, and communities tend to come a little bit later. But it's actually a crucial element of making a project work, because if you don't have the buy-in from the local community and the connections with them, your projects can become hell, I guess. Like it can make things very difficult.
Definitely. I think there's an upside and a downside, like everything in life. If you do have the support from the local government or national government in a rural area, there's the upside is that you can help the local people, and you can maybe grow a community and try and develop certain things. But on the flip side is maybe it's not such a good thing. Sometimes we go into areas and we think we're helping people, but we could maybe be changing what's the word I'm looking for? Or evolution. Got it. An evolution of a local district, which to us, we're thinking, this is definitely something that will change the community, but sometimes it may not be such a good thing. But again, in terms of helping people and providing finances and infrastructure, I think definitely hospitality can play a major role in that and definitely help people. I can personally give some examples from where I'm actually living at the moment, but maybe a little bit later once the ladies have added some information in. But I think overall, if we had to weigh it out, we definitely have the power and the opportunity to help people.
Well, maybe we can first start by checking, like what actually are the benefits that we can bring to local population, because the obvious one, and it's actually, like one of the reasons why I was interested in going into the tourism industry in the first place, is that I've always thought that tourism and hospitality have a great power to help the local population and bring things like employment, infrastructures, and really also showcase the culture and the beauty of the place, when it's done right and when it's done in a meaningful way and not just like putting a tower there to make money. But what other benefits do you see like that are brought to the local community?
I think that the main thing, and I kind of want to touch up on a few things that we've mentioned now. I think one of the main thing when it comes to locals and communities, the main thing that we like to say is that it's an incredible driver of job creation and economic opportunity all around the world. I mean, there's so many people, I don't have the exact percentage in my mind now, but like so many people that are employed in the industry. But then as you also kind of mentioned, if it's done right, it can be this massive contributor. Unfortunately, we've also seen a lot of cases where it hasn't been done exactly right, or where there's a lot of questioning that still needs to go into kind of the conditions of the jobs that we're creating. A lot of them offer very low wages for the locals that are employed, very little job stability, security. We've seen it during COVID, how many people very quickly lost their jobs again in the tourism industry. We need to make sure that we create opportunities for people also to climb the career ladder and not just, stay stagnant in the roles that they take on. And also kind of look at, topics like seasonality, what can we do in periods where tourism goes down a bit, what kind of opportunities can we then create for our team there? And this is all things that I think once they're mindfully addressed and being thought about, like it has such a massive positive impact on communities and the economic chances for people to join the industry.
I was going to say, building on that too, there's sort of the opportunity, particularly with natural resources sometimes, for hospitality tourism to go hand in hand with sort of conservation efforts and protection. Thinking some projects, particularly Southern Africa, where tourism is actually sort of enabled local communities to be able to protect the local resources rather than them getting developed for, in other ways that would not be as conducive sort of for that long-term sustainability.
I think Richard Branson from Virgin sums this up very well, is we'd be nothing without the people who help us get somewhere. Mm-hmm. So, even though we find ourselves going into wherever it might be, if we don't have the people to help us, we won't be able to do anything. But like you very rightly mentioned, Charlene, is, at what level, what education and what expectations, because, you don't want to set up local people for failure and then, come in with the big building, like you mentioned, Celine, and then suddenly they all drive past every day looking at, all this wealth around them, and they get nothing out of it, which is something that does tend to happen in some places around the world. So yeah, it's a very fine line. I mean, we all just wave our flag and we're going to save the world. We're going to build a hotel. We're going to hire everybody, and but there is actually, if you dig a little bit deeper, it needs to be done correctly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one thing also in terms of employment is, as you said, Charlene, like what type of job it is and how to climb the career ladder, which is already difficult anyway, because the hospitality industry is structured in such a way that in certain position it's really hard to climb and have like a proper long-term career path. And also like training and education, like it's a shame like they're not on the call, but I know like a company like Sarah Hospitality, they go to places, I think it's 3 or 4 months before the hotel open, and they work with new hotels opening, and to help train the local community, so then they can access jobs into the hotel and have like not only the entry level job but access different levels of jobs, and give them also the tools and the knowledge to access these managerial positions. And what I found interesting too, because when we think about the community, we automatically think about communities in like resort destination where the hotel is implemented and the population has maybe lower revenues. And we don't always think about urban environments where there's also an impact on the local population. And we're just open a school in London to train local people with a background that is a little less advantageous, and help them gain the skill to have position in this new hotel. Like there's a bunch of new hotels opening in London to get access to these positions.
There's a gentleman here in Vietnam, a friend of mine who actually used to be the CEO of one of the companies I work for. Now we're not working together, so now we're friends. No, I'm joking. We were always friends. But he's opened something very interesting here in Vietnam. He originally did the hotel school in Lucerne in Switzerland, like many hoteliers follow that route. And his dream was to open up a hotel school. And he's actually taken it to another level now. He opens up these resorts that he calls Skol, Skol. I think it's got more of a French pronunciation to it. And actually, everybody in the property is a student. And only the top management, maybe the general manager, the number 2, or the executive chef. Otherwise, everyone else is a student in training. But that's how they run the hotel. It's a very, very interesting business plan, because then the salaries are very low and no one, but actually everyone is growing and a student at the same time. It's a very interesting concept. He's opened one already just at the beginning of this year. I actually haven't spoken to him to find out how it's going. And I know he has 2 more in the pipeline around Vietnam. And it's not just like hotel school with a little 20-room type of thing and everyone's downstairs. No. It's 110 rooms with 2 or 3 outlets, swimming pool, beach, blah, 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 blah. It's a proper resort environment, and it's purely educational.
It would be interesting to see like how is he doing with like Charlene was mentioning seasonality, but him won't be maybe seasonality, but the fact that students are changing. Maybe, I don't know how long is their curriculum, but every 2 years, I think it's going to have like a new bench. Well, every year is going to have new students, and every 2 years, the students that he formed for 2 years will be gone.
Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting model, and I don't know how it's going, but it's pretty much like having casuals all the time. But then you could, train these people and work in partnership. I remember he was telling me with other brands, and then it's like an employment agency. So, there's many ways of going off it, but, and then, throwing in community and education and sustainability, which is something I was talking to him about. It's part of the curriculum. So then these students, qualified hoteliers, go out, but they go, oh, well, where's the sustainability? Where are we recycling water? And that's, well, we're not doing that. Oh, we should do that. That's part of hospitality. So it's a very interesting concept.
You should get him to one of the, we should do another call around community, and you should bring him in. Like, I would be so interested to see like how this is going and yeah, how this model
I'll
works.
definitely ask him. Yeah, I think yeah, it would be interesting because yeah, I didn't think of that before this talk, but now that everyone's been talking, it's pretty much that.
I've seen another concept. I think you've seen it too, from a guy called Rocco Bova, and don't remember the name. I think it's Amble Hospitality, and the idea is to give shares of the hotel to the employees and like employ local people, and yeah, give them shares of the hotel. So I don't know how this is going, but that's also a way to yeah, like impact the local community, and also like give more responsibilities and attachment, and I guess long-term engagement with the property.
Yeah, I don't want to wave the flag for the company I'm working with, and I won't mention it too many times because it's not about advertising, but it's very much the core value of what we do. And in some of the places where we have properties, people have been there for 19 years, and they've started as bellman, and now they're executive assistant manager or general manager. So there's definitely, it can be done and it should be done. And there's no reason that a local fisherman or a local farmer should remain a bellboy for 20 years. If they want to remain a bellboy and they're fine with that's also okay. But there's no reason that they should be considered, like you said, entry level staff or associates. And there should be that element of growth and education. And I think all of us do that anyway, because we when you go into a local community, there are things you don't know. You were mentioning before, some companies go in for research, but if you really want to know something anywhere in the world, even if you're a tourist, who do you ask? You ask the locals. So if the locals can say, oh, you could do this, or no, you should do this, or this would be better, or you should speak to that person. A lot of places in Vietnam, you have to speak to the chief of the village or the chef of the village. It's not a man sitting in a room on a stool shaking something like we all think the chief of the village, but it's just an elder, and you have to get his blessing to do anything. But as a company or a foreign company coming in, we don't know these things. So the locals are very, very important. But that's one element. There's also helping the local community. We've been talking now about educating and growing a community to fit into our business, but there's also our business supporting the local community, not necessarily working for us, but how can we give back? And I think that's also something very, very big around the world as well. But it's something that it's just social responsibility, right? In the old days, we used to call it CSR, corporate social responsibility. I think in some places we still call it that, but it's how can we give back to the local community and help them. And I think that's also a very important element. And as a hospitality platform, I definitely think there's a lot more we can do in that sphere as well.
I guess it's like three buckets, like working within the hotel, working with the hotel, because as a business, a hotel like creates so many opportunities to work with the local community, like local farmers and producers, local artists to decorate the hotel or to provide furniture, or even like local tour companies to create experiences. And so there are so many different people that are touched, or like that have the collateral effects of having a hotel in their environment. And then what you've just said, the CSR, and how can you give back to the local community. I remember when I was at Four Seasons, that was something that was important, and there were always some actions to, like, first there were some like a check to make sure that, because a lot of time in like in resort destinations, you have like a lot of expats working there, especially for managerial positions. So, like there are metrics to check, like what percentage of the locals were employed in the hotels, and then actions to give back, like preserving the reef, the coral reef in I don't remember where it is. I think it was in Maldives, in Costa Rica, like some work also to work with the rainforests. Now for Blue Zones, I'm working with the Andas Hotel in Costa Rica, and they are doing some programs. They use a local farm to source their products, and we're also doing some programs, and actually, like part of the revenues from the Blue Zones retreats we will be doing next month will go into this charity that we're helping. And so they're like more and more like companies are trying to see like actions that they can do to help the local communities.
And I think it's also so important to create and keep the jobs alive that kind of are outside of the tourism industry, because there is so much like craftsmanship and culture in some of these jobs that are found around the world. And also again touching on the point that the tourism industry is extremely vulnerable, and what if we have another collapse of the industry, and how are all these like people supporting themselves if they all become reliant on the tourism industry. And I think there's a lot of beautiful ways to integrate some of these within our businesses, and also give back to those that operate outside of our industries, and to make our most to kind of keep those jobs alive, and get people to still be able to do their jobs, even with their their towns transforming into more like tourism destinations. And it's such an important point to work on as well, to keep those opportunities outside of the tourism industry alive.
And I think it also ties into what I was going to say consumers are looking for, what tourists are traveling for, sort of authentic experiences where they have touch points with the local community, and not going into sort of that, from the 1980s, the stereotypical big box hotel where every room looked exactly the same and you didn't necessarily know where you were when you woke up. It could be anywhere in the world. So I think it's sort of a win-win situation, both for for travelers and for communities in that sense.
Can I throw a spanner into the wheel here? I once, just interested to hear what you all got to say about this. I once watched a show, and the comment on the show was, when you see it on National Geographic, or when there's a Coca-Cola being sold in that area, it's over. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, if you can get Coca-Cola at the top of Everest, then that's not such a good thing. But yes, if someone's selling it, then it's business for them. So I mean, how do you guys see that? Because that's what it boils down to.
Like now, so I moved to Azores 3 months ago, and it's very interesting for me to be living in a like emerging tourism destination and see like what's happening on the ground, like firsthand. And I guess Charlene in Sri Lanka, you're seeing that as well. And it's interesting because the tourism development started by having like people, like local people, renting their houses or like the secondary homes to tourists. So that made an increase of the like a local accommodation in the area. And now when you look at the data, the number of local accommodation versus the number of hotel rooms accommodation, I think it's 60% of this local accommodation, and then there are other things, and like hotels is very, very small. And what started like with this local accommodation as a great way for the communities to get money from their secondary homes is now like turning into a way for foreigners to invest. and then they rent these accommodation to tourists, which means that the revenues they're generating are used not in the area, but they are sent back home and used there. Plus, it makes the prices of accommodation for local people to find like flats to live in or houses to live in more expensive, because and access to buying houses or flats for locals also more expensive, because the foreigners have more like a power to buy high prices. So the prices of the real estate market is going up, prices for renting is going up, and then like people don't want necessarily to rent to like for 1 year, because they can make more money renting just for 3 months to tourists. And the wages right now are still low despite the prices being higher. So I think at some point it's gonna have to rebalance itself, and like have pricings getting like because this can't make for sustainable like year-round destination. And here you have flights, like regular flights to the US and to Europe year-round, and you have like people like living here year-round. So you have like it's a year-round place, but it's not a year-round destination for tourism, but it's a year-round destination for people living there. Unlike certain places, like if you go to certain part of Sardinia in off season, like it's ghost towns. And the other thing too, and I saw Shalana just joined, and it's something that he mentioned with fishermen in Sri Lanka. So I will let him explain. But here the cows have the best view. So there's a big like cow industry, like milk cows, and all the land in like the oceanfront land is owned by farmers, and it's where they put their cows. So like with people investing and buying this land, it's reshaping completely the industry here, and also like the community and how they're living and how they're making money and their current jobs. And so there are so many impact. Like I think Hilton, you were talking about evolution, and at the beginning, like is having a hotel or like developing something as a tourism destination a bad thing or a good thing? Like it's an evolution, it's a change for sure, but is it a change for the better or not? That's always like a question to ask, and it's actually difficult to answer, because I guess it depends on everybody's definition of success, I would say, and like the lifestyle they want to have, and like what kind of like everything is changing when you have this big investment coming. So it's a big shift at every level.
Correct.
And I like that you brought that up, because it is we call it leakage in tourism, and it is one of the most pressing issues in the industry at the moment, but it's one that we really don't talk enough about. It is keeping that money in the country and not bringing it in to bring it out again. And this is something that we all need to ensure is happening, is that our money is used locally and keeps is being kept in the local economy, and not brought out by all the foreigners that come and invest and take the money back out with them again.
But to a certain degree, even if people are taking the money out, they're still attracting business to that area, and those people are still going to go to the market, they're still going to go to restaurants. I understand the leakage, and yes, I bought a house on that island, and the money's going to my account in Paris, and it's nothing. But if someone's coming to stay in that house, indirectly they're still supporting the local community, because they flew there, they paid taxes on the food that they ate, they went to the local restaurant. So it depends on what level. Yes, the hotel's making 2 billion whatever a year revenue and 1 million in profit, and it's not going to the local community. But all the businesses around the hotel have definitely profited from that installation or that construction. But I'm arguing my own point here because I'm 100% in agreement with you, Celine, especially where I am right now. We one property in the middle of nowhere. You know, there's one city, and you know all the local people we're hiring around us, and definitely this area does attract people. But the fact that we have a big property, we'll do a lot of marketing, and we'll definitely bring more people to the area. Okay, the owners are local, so it's still going to a bank account locally, so that maybe not sitting in New York, you know, filling up a bank account offshore or something. Or they might be doing that. But but yeah, it's a very, very difficult one because you know, what happens exactly like you said, Charlene, what happens if it stops tomorrow? So, you know, all these people invest and they build around us, and we've seen that all over the world. We've seen that happen. Besides COVID and, you know, these kinds of things, but, you know, the investor comes along and then closes the door for whatever reason it might be. But people are resilient, and you know, people pick up. I think if you don't build the hotel and you don't promote the area, people won't come, for sure. If you do
And
build
I
it
would
and people,
argue,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I would argue that, you know, like maybe your hotel is actually a better than having, you know, this Airbnb type of accommodation in developing destinations, because at least the hotel creates jobs and have people spending money on the country, or like in the location, versus these you know, like private rental where the money, like they don't always spend as much. They eat in their flat, you know, maybe they buy a bit of food at the local market, but they're less like, they maybe don't go as much at the restaurant. Whereas when you're in a hotel, you're in a context where you have to go like to eat either at the hotel restaurant or eat outside. So there are conditions. It's like cruise ships, you know, like they come in, they bring a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's more like a lot of people, but not spending much on the location, because they have everything on the boat, so they keep the money in the boat. So I guess it's also like finding the right type of accommodation and the right balance to have like a healthy destinations where you have people who come and who spend money on the destination.
Yeah, and also about remembering that a hotel stay is only one part of the guest experience, and that we can encourage our guests also kind of to leave the hotel, you know, and you know, use everything that's around their hotel as part of their guest experience, and encourage them to go out for their meal, and you know, develop the business concept, the guest experience around, you know, the local area as well.
We encourage them to go out for activities, but not to go out for a meal. We like to keep that revenue on property. No, I'm joking.
Or you can have like what Bhutan's done, where you sort of blend the two together. You have to have a certain level of, you know, your hotel stay and spend, but also interaction with like the local communities as well, in a very controlled way.
And I've also seen, you know, even within business models that were sort of initially following a more like, I wouldn't say all inclusive, but kind of going down that way of wanting to keep their people in. There's even ways with these type of hotels to implement, you know, what's around them. Like I've seen that, don't remember what hotel that was, but they had a kitchen takeover by a local restaurant that once a week kind of came in and took over their kitchen. And then people, you know, even though they were staying inside the hotel, they were eating the food from, you know, a small local business from the area. So there's always ways, no matter what kind of our initial, you know, concept we may have built up back in the days, or, you know, we probably didn't think about all these things that we think now, you know, 20 years ago. There's ways, you know, in which all of us and all of our hospitality concepts can bring in the local community just that little bit more.
I remember I think we talked about this maybe a couple of years ago. Like there's the hotel in Guatemala, Casa Popolo, which I think 5% or so thereabouts, a percentage of the room rate was actually given to guests in vouchers to be used in the local sort of local community shops, sort of to make sure that that money was getting to sort of directly to the community.
Nice. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. Yeah. No, I think definitely all in all, there are definitely negatives, but overall, by building an installation in a locale, you're definitely driving people to that area, and it can, maybe the hotel, yes, probably the hotel's making a lot more money than the locals will make, but it definitely helps and promotes an area and drives and supports the local community no matter what. There are still negatives, of course, but I think overall it definitely helps people. I mean, yeah, without a doubt. There's a very bad negative side to it, and I think we're all thinking capitalistically, because that's just how we're driven, maybe from a business perspective. But I think from a social environment, there are a lot of positives towards, investing in an area and helping the local community. To what degree? Well, that's debatable, but I definitely think there are positives for sure.
Yeah, it's just about making sure that the locals are taking a big part in the tourism kind of economic value chain. And that's the way to move forward as well, kind of to make sure that it trickles down to those that kind of, I would say, open the doors to welcome us. It needs to go down and reach these people.
I mean, it's a risk in terms of a business plan, because when you go into an area that has no history of tourism, it's a disaster. I think maybe some of you have had that experience, and people have no idea. Yeah, so that can have a very negative effect. But after a while, people understand, by talking nicely to someone, they might buy something from you. But shouting at them and saying bye, and then they run away, well, after a while, you understand that there's a different way of doing business. But yeah.
But I guess there's also, like, how do you get the buy-in from the community? Because maybe they don't want things to change. Maybe they like how they are living right now. They like to be farmers, or like fishermen, or like they like their lifestyle right now, and they don't want it to change. They don't want to go and work for a hotel. They prefer the work they are doing. So how do you first, is working in a hotel better or not? Like, that's a question of perspective. And how do you get their buy-in? Like, what's in there for them? Like, because maybe they can make more money, but because all the pricing are increasing, well, at the end of the day, like, is it really that much more, or is it the same bargain power, but the numbers are just inflated now? And like, is it really like a good thing?
I have an example. I wasn't going to share it, but I'll share it. Since I've been living up here in the mountains, I've explained this to Celine before. It's very, very rural. There's people walking up and down barefoot, carrying wood on their backs. I definitely think this is a blue zone. They're eating vegetables off the mountains. There's ladies 80 years old walking up and down the hills. I have to change 3 times gears in my car, and she's walking up. In the evening, I see her walking down. But what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of the people working for us are from families who have rice fields. So they've all grown up in the rice fields. It's a family community thing. They all work together. And here it's absolutely amazing. It's community with a huge C, because when there's one harvest in one house, there's 300 people from the community, and they're all there, and they all do it together. And then the next day they're all in another rice field, and they're all in another rice field. And they really, really, they really epitomize what community is about. But we've hired these people, and we're training them. Yes, they're getting more money. They have a job and security, and even social security and all things like that. But when the rice season comes, which is high season for us, they need to go and help their family. They need to go and help their community. So we know it's like when it's a surf day in Hawaii, when the wind's up, everyone's sick. So suddenly everyone disappears for that day, and they're off doing community service. They're helping their families. But what got me thinking is we can get to a certain point where they've touched gold, and they don't need to go and stand in the rice field the whole day to make a lot less money. They can be in an AC room serving, getting tips, things like that. And a whole community of rice field farmers might disappear. So his great-great-grandfather built the farm and they did rice. His father did it, his grandfather did it, his father did it, and then he was supposed to do it. But now he's working in a hotel. So he only goes to help when he needs to be there. But otherwise, he won't do it. So there won't be a handover. And that rice field will become dry and dormant, and that's the end of the story. His family still may be making more money, and he may make enough money and grow in the hospitality and be promoted and actually end up having a better life financially. But then if you look at the bigger scheme of pictures, people are coming here for the rice fields. So now if he's stopped working in the rice field and there's no more rice field, then nobody will come here to visit the rice fields because there are no more rice fields, just because we gave him a job in a hotel. So I'm being very pessimistic, but it's something that I'm wanting to write on. I call it the social dilemma. And is that how far can we go and how much are we helping these local people? I didn't want to talk about it, but Celine was driving the negativity on the concept. So I thought I'd share that with you. I'm all for helping people, and I definitely think that, like I said earlier, there's definitely a very positive side to it, but this is also a very negative side to it.
It's interesting. There's another hotel in the sort of a neighboring region, I think, where the hotel has taken over the rice paddies, and actually guests pay for rice paddy experiences and spend money depending on what time of year it is, and work alongside the local farmers to either plant the rice, harvest the rice, take care of it. I think they use I don't know, is it oxen or sort of buffalo to help with it, and that's all part of the hotel experience as well. So perhaps there's opportunities to bring in even sort of more of the community in a way. But it's definitely it is a huge challenge, isn't it?
I mean, innovation, negativity drives innovation. But yeah, I mean, I'm being very negative, and very maybe overreacting. But
yeah, but I would say that it's a worldwide challenge too. I know I'm based in the UK right now, and actually my husband's family have been farmers for previous generations, and even with that, there's sort of changes, without the sort of driving force of tourism per se, but still just people with opportunities to do other things as well. But
I mean, talking about food and farmers, I mean, Celine works for Blue Zone, and one of the concepts is there isn't enough food. We've got to a point where the supply and demand is no more balanced. Because maybe a lot of people are now working online and not growing food, or whatever it might be, or accountants or hospitality people, whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, we can go on for hours, but the bottom line is there has to be a balance. Right? By us growing in these rural areas and building these beautiful hotels, we're helping people, but in the long run, I don't know. I'm not so sure. But if I can go to sleep at night knowing that I've helped someone grow, who's developed, who didn't, can potentially have a career, but then I flip over and think, now the whole rice farm has disappeared because I gave this guy a promotion, I don't feel so good. But yeah. But I think it's the same all over the world, even on the coast with fishing farmers, fishermen, sorry, all over the world. It's exactly the same. Yeah, I'm just giving a rice field example, but it's exactly the same. Yeah, people going out every day to fish and coming back and making a minimum amount of money, and then suddenly, getting a job in a hotel. But what's a nice one is sometimes the hotels hire the fishermen, like you said, and it's an experience to go fishing with them and then come back and cook your own fish or whatever it might be. So that's really helping them, but they're keeping their job and, supporting local communities. But
But it's also, you've got these people that are still passionate about what they're doing. Like I have that example. I spoke to a fisherman the other day, and he was a fisherman in 4th or 5th generation. And now he is thinking of actually retiring from fishing because he cannot make a living with that anymore. He says in one way, you're not making enough money anymore. There's not enough natural resources to then go and sustain the family because everything is being, bought up and built up, especially in the area where I'm located down here in the South Coast. And then on the other side, he also said there is still too many people that are unskilled and become fishermen. So that's also an issue. There's just too many fishermen in the water now. And like, there's not enough to fish and sell. And, they're just struggling on all ends. And they're saying like, okay, I love my job, but I cannot make a living from it anymore.
That's where hospitality can jump in and help some of these people. But instead of buying it from a massive supplier, which we said right in the beginning of this conversation, source from these people. But again, it looks great on a piece of paper in a business plan, and we do a small percentage because we can get, but we need 500 kilos and we need it every day. So we're getting it from a big supplier, carbon footprint, da 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 da. But these local guys can definitely support us with something, or at least a certain percentage that keeps them alive and keeps us supporting the local community. And I think those things should definitely be priorities for hospitality companies, be it in Las Vegas, be it in the mountains, be it in Miami, or wherever it might be in the south of Sri Lanka. People should still definitely make that a priority. And it isn't. We talk, and we all know a lot of people in the industry, but it isn't a priority because bottom line is the priority. So cost. But I definitely think a small percentage, like you mentioned, taking revenue from a hotel room, those kinds of things definitely make a difference, and it can keep these people alive. Doing something for them.
Say, like, it is such a difficult area still to touch on, but nothing really change. Everything would just be like, a band-aid, unless we change our mindsets and our ways of working, and we transform our industries from the bottom up, like but there's so much, it will go so far and so deep, and that change just needs to, come back up from that deep point of, reflection on who we are as a society and kind of what we stand for, where we want to go or need to go in the future. And as long as we're not ready to kind of engage in that change of mindset, everything will just stay at the surface, and it will just be like better practices, but not really, like going into the level of change that is required.
I think the SDGs is a very good start. And I definitely think there's more influence in conversations like this, and your companies that are based around sustainability, a core value of the company I work for. So there is hope. There's definitely hope. There are a lot of hotels out there. We always talk about the plastic bottles, and you go to Las Vegas in a hotel of 800 rooms, and they all have plastic bottles. There's 880% occupancy. You can do the maths every day. But it's still there, and little plastic shampoos in the showers, but it's still there. But there are another 1,000 hotels or 10% of the hotels on the Strip in Vegas that did make the change. And that hopefully everyone will, get on the bandwagon sooner or later. I mean, governance is important, be it domestic, be it provincial or national. Governance can definitely help. We know that, and we're seeing it more and more in different places, especially Europe. Europe is very strong in sustainability governance, to the point where companies are closing down because it's too strict. But I've read quite a lot about that. But yeah, we need to make those changes, and our companies need to make the rules and guide people to think like that. Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot to yeah, I'm still thinking about all the things that you are saying. I guess we need another conversation around that area, because it's there's so much more to dig in, and we reached the hour. So but yeah, I'm still in the rice field, so great. Well, yeah. No, go ahead.
No. That's all. Otherwise, I go on for a half an hour. So
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this call. And yeah, I think we need to sit. Well, at least I need to sit on this, but I think we definitely need a follow-up conversation on that, because it's a very interesting discussion, and it needs more digging.
Definitely.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and yeah, see you for next one.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Bye.
ladies. Nice to
Bye.
see
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Good to see you. Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Merci, Celine.